Yeah.
So we've done fuel, we've done air. Now we've got throttles.
Yeah.
Now give us a talk through setting those up. So you had to first climb into the cockpit upside down, throttles at a certain point, and then put a knitting needle in. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
To actually set them.
Yeah, it was a rigging pin, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Right,
It looked
okay.
like a knitting needle.
Yeah,
right, okay.
Probably called that, but it was a
Rigging
that's
pin.
right, yeah.
Okay, but as
But you had rigging points all through
Yes,
the
you
system,
did,
all the way down.
Yeah.
I think for the thing I always remember is the lost motion box, which is this thing here, which was really quite a clever device in terms of, and Andy explained it much better than I did, but so the aim of the lost motion box was to basically allow you to control the engine in dry thrust using this. That would slide up and down according to pilot's input on the throttle. When he got a max power and he wanted to go into reheat, this didn't want to move, and it would stay at max power setting. The pilot would advance the reheat throttle, and this lost motion box would allow this to stay as it is and move the reheat controls and continue moving the reheat controls.
Yeah.
Selection of reheat was always through max power, and then once you got to max, you modulate it back to min reheat and so on. And then coming out of reheat would re-engage motion of this.
Yeah.
You could drag min reheat back down to about 88%, couldn't you? Something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So the pilot, just to keep things simple, not that they require things to be simple, they're clever people, but operating in what you might call the correct sense. More power on the throttle going forward and back. So the pilot had one throttle to operate, but that box allowed that movement that the pilot had to either go to the engine
or to the
rear.
That's a pretty succinct explanation.
So setting one of those up was no mean feat, and getting all of the control points, and then you'd have various different linkages that would wear out, and you'd have to replace some of those linkages, etc. And you'd have little ball joints in them, etc., etc. So today's is all done by electronics and fly-by-wire.
Yeah.
But as a propulsion person, this was a tricky
Split pinning them was no fun.
Yeah, all this stuff predated fly-by-wire.
Fly-by-wire.
And then what was it called at the time?
Black box.
SOGAL.
SOGAL?
Yeah, this SOGAL.
What's that mean?
System of gears and levers.
I'd never heard that before. I do remember during my trade training at Halton, we did the Avon fuel system, which was a proportional flow control system. We did the cask for the spay, and then the instructor went, and yes, the Tornado's coming in pretty soon. That's got a black box.
Yeah.
And you get something coming in and you get something coming out, but you don't need to know about that.
All you need to know is how to do on these plugs, undo those bolts and get that box and put this box in.
This aircraft was full of adjustments everywhere, wasn't it?
It
Microjet.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember others. It was ground idle, flight idle, all sorts of adjustments.
So what I take away from my time on the Lightning is that, I was talking about this earlier, it taught you the art of patience, which I think is probably a life skill that you're not going to perhaps acquire unless you've worked on something like this. So it was the art of patience. The other thing you had to do is really get how the systems work, but actually it was how it all came together. Actually, so that was a drag on. It required a fair bit of good memory and experience to be able to do that. And I think the third thing is, as you were saying earlier on, Murph, sometimes you had to get behind here and wire locking would be attacking you. And we've all got various different scars, but wire locking would be attacking you, and you'd have to get up into various different really tough angles. And if you had to put a tiny little 2BA nut on, I think you were saying that you'd super glue it onto your finger, get it on and try and get a twist on there to get it started. Because if you drop the nut, you could lose it somewhere and spend half a day looking for it, as we've all done.
And you had to find it.
Yes,
you
couldn't
had to find it. So the tricks.
Yeah.
So it had a physical dexterity orientation to it, mental. And patience. Would you say that
Absolutely.
They're the three skills that you either had to have or acquire to be any good at doing this?
But I think you could take what you learnt from what we did in ASF in terms of becoming a hands-on engineer. You could take that anywhere. I certainly took it into my later on career.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it was an incredible learning process. And you know, I got a story that I'd like to recount, and it was about using superglue, and it involved a rigger who was helping me fit the leading edge tank on the wing. And you know, you used to have to lay down on the wing and stick your finger in there. Well, he actually laid down on the wing, super glue on his finger, but what he didn't realise is he spilt some super glue on the wing, and he laid down and put his cheek in it. And when he fitted the bolt, he tried to get up and he couldn't, and he was stuck to the
I guess, and that was before the days where they had proper solutions to be able to
it was actually a razor blade to
After you'd finished laughing. Come on, everybody, look at...
well,
he was a rigger, so I'll forgive him.
Yeah. So this brings us on quite nicely to some of the tricks that were played on all of us. You know? The humour side, because often, you know, high pressure environments, you're working on a deadline to get an aircraft out. The FRS couplings are gone. What, you lost a day, or you damaged a pipe with an engine going in. Yeah. You could lose a few days. So the pressures on patients, the pressures on, you know, the sort of the mind, if you like, as well as the physical demands, to alleviate pressure. And sometimes it was humour. And I remember being on those benches, the old wooden benches. They were like the old PE benches, weren't they? Used to go, and I was in here, and I think I was doing something on an FRS company or whatever that required. No, it wasn't. It's something that required some 2BA bolts, and I had everything neat in my little tray, my tool tray, my torch on. Okay. And one of our colleagues, we'll call him, his name is Frank, but we won't give his surname.
No, okay. He'd be cross if he did.
Yeah.
I'd only been around for about 6 months, so I was subject to all of Frank's jokes. And what he had done while I was working away, I always had shiny shoes. I was clean out of training for 6 months. So he snips my shoelaces with snips. Yeah. And then on the shoes he got. Do you remember that stuff you used to spray on here, the white chalk? Ardrox. It sprayed all my shoes with Ardrox, and then what he'd done, he'd super glued all of my neat nuts that I'd had in the thing. So I stepped out of my shoes, and there was Frank there in absolute fits of laughter. Yeah. And then another time, he said, "Come on, let's go for lunch." And he'd put that, you remember that graphite grease? I can't remember what it was, really dark black. Yeah. Put it on the inside of my berry, so your berry's not straight. Yeah. And of course I had this massive, so walked into the mess with that on. And then I think the third trick he played on me is he put the same grease on the telephone. He said, "It's your..." Yeah. I'd missed a call from my girlfriend that evening, and he said, Helen's on the phone. So I picked up, hello, and again, you know, so it just kept on falling for his tricks, and it took me about another 4 or 5 months to get wise to Frank. So can you recall any? I guess there's many moments where silly things, jolly jokes.
I think the leak check of the number 2 starter air pipe. Do you remember that with the bung?
Oh, the exhaust.
Yes. So you'd fill the pipe. There was a bung on the outside. Yeah. You'd fill the pipe up with water and leak check it, and then you'd say to some gullible person walking around outside, "You just take that bung out." So pull the bung. Or we tried a piece of string to it, didn't we?
Yes.
You pull it.
And you pull it, and boosh, they got covered with water. And then taking the refueling probe off, you always used to get someone covered in a bit of. After, didn't you?
You did, yeah.
And you used to stink, didn't you? I mean, you used to go home to your room when you were living on camp, you know, and you would stink from head to toe in fuel. But
you know, the guys on the teams weren't always cruel to you know, when somebody new came out of training and joined the team. I remember this one guy. We can't say names, can we? But he had a huge nose.
Right.
We
best not say his name then.
No. And you know, whether he was self-conscious of it or not, he was a rigger, and all the other riggers on the team, probably about 4 of them. This is on team 2.
Just to make him narrow it down.
Oh yeah, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah. And but to make him feel a little bit, you know, more at home, they all made themselves plasticine noses, and so everybody was walking around with these huge noses on. Yeah,
you probably couldn't get away with that these days.
No, not really. No.
It's all gone a bit.
So you can either break down in tears or just say, okay, you know.
Yeah. There was plenty of banter, wasn't there? And things that, you know, having left Binbrook and then went into Civvy Street, you couldn't get away with anything
you
like
tried,
that if
and
you
then
wanted
it
to
was
hold your job.
took to one side and said, you're upsetting everybody, Murph.
Yes,
absolutely.
And he just,
So
whoa!
I'm fresh out of the Air Force.
Yeah.
It's how I've been, trained.
They just need to harden up.
What do you think your most frustrating job was on this?
Certainly for me, it was the bullshorn pipes
In the interpipe.
just the jet pipe there. I think that was just such a difficult
And it
job.
could take days.
It could take days.
Yeah.
And this wasn't quite too much of a technical job, but I found one of those menial tasks, but it was quite therapeutic, was putting the braided seal.
Yeah.
Oh my
Do you remember doing that?
Full of asbestos.
Yeah, full of asbestos, or taking one off. Even worse.
Taking them off was terrible.
Where all that asbestos dust.
Yeah.
But at least to dampen the asbestos down, you were painting them with toluene and benzene
Were you?
with a brush.
Oh,
yeah. Mixing molybdenum disulfide powder in with benzene and toluene.
Oh, that's made it safer.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of chemicals around.
Yeah,
that
the
wouldn't be allowed.
MEK,
Yeah.
PRC.
Your hands were so sore after doing that job.
Yeah.
You make yourself a little roddling sharp thing, but your hands were just so
Yeah.
sore after doing it.
And cleaning the
braided seal.
interpipe bay was also a deep joy at
Yeah,
times, wasn't it?
yeah,
With the MEK
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah,
You used to come out of there high as a kite.
You
Yeah.
like the smell of it. I didn't.
I did like
hated
the smell of it.
of
And
okay.
Avpin.
Yeah, it was
Avpin
a
was
pretty,
nice.
pretty toxic
Yeah.
piece of
Yeah.
stuff. That wasn't it?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the jobs, but I think you're right, Mario. The bullshorn was probably
And the
hardest.
the pipes I used to like doing were they're air pipes to the nozzles, the reheat nozzles. The ones that used to do that. Do a loop. I guess that was for expansion.
yeah.
I used to like doing them because I'd take the old one out and blow it as a.
Oh
that
right,
was
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.